It was the varsity basketball team party for my boyfriend, Oliver. The second we walked in, Brianna launched herself at his waist, her cheeks flushed. Oliver, your abs don't feel as nice as they used to. Oliver cleared his throat, and she finally let go, slowly. Sis, we've been like this since we were kids, don't mind me, she chirped. I was speechless. I'm a whole year younger than her. My boyfriend's name is Oliver. Brianna is his childhood best friend. He says she's basically like a sister to him. At dinner, she watched as Oliver loaded her plate with chicken tenders. She took one tiny bite and dropped the rest back into his basket. You forgot I'm on my period this week, I'll break out. She pouted, half whining. Guess once you have a girlfriend, you stop remembering me, huh? When the party game started, Brianna got picked for the lock arms and drink dare. She plopped straight into Oliver's lap. He instinctively caught her waist. She poured half her drink into his cup, then looped her arm through his, her big eyes blinking up at him. Sis won't mind, right? Oliver ruffled my hair like it was nothing. Of course not, my girlfriend's the chillest. I'd had enough. I let out a cold laugh. Big deal, I've even kissed my childhood best friend. Oliver's hand froze around his glass, his face darkened. Lily, what did you just say? He crossed the line first, and now he dared to bark at me? I had no intention of headbutting him, so my voice came out soft. Are you yelling at me? Oliver blinked, then pushed Brianna off his lap and stood, his voice lower. No, babe, you were just messing around, right? He sounded desperate for confirmation. Right? Brianna, shoved aside, scrambled up, looking wronged. We had kissed, when we were 5. I kept that part to myself. Everyone at the table exchanged glances, popcorn ready. I figured this was probably the last team party, odds were we'd never all meet again. I didn't plan to hold back. If you're going to strike hard. I reached up to smooth Oliver's messy hair and smiled sweetly. Childhood bonds run deep. You're super easygoing, you get it, right? I began, my voice sugary. My buddy and I even shared a milkshake, sip for sip. Age 5, our very first one, neither of us willing to let the other have more. He carried me 2 miles through the snow one winter, his back was so warm. 4th grade, I read his journal aloud to our parents, he chased me for half an hour. When I tripped, I made him piggyback me home. He even skipped his first SAT prep session to rush my forgotten student ID to me. That one's true, I hadn't expected him to show up that day. Mason had burst into the library study room 13 minutes late. With every sentence, Oliver's face twisted a shade uglier. When he looked about to crack, I downed my soda and sighed, well, thanks for the reminder, you too. I clicked my tongue and slipped off the couple's necklace Oliver had given me. Oliver, we're done. I think I still like him better. I lifted my chin at Brianna. If you want trash that badly, he's yours. Panic flashed across Oliver's face. Babe, stop joking, oh? And just how much do you like him? A familiar, clear voice sounded behind me. I spun around. Mason, all in black, hands in his jacket pockets, watched me with an amused smirk. My mouth twitched. The unlucky devil himself, my so-called arch-nemesis, caught red-handed fabricating stories, by the very guy I'd been talking about. And we were in the middle of a Cold War, no less. Because of that freeze-out, I hadn't even known he'd joined the varsity team, let alone that he'd show up here. How on earth was I supposed to wrap this up? My brain felt like mush, one wrong move and Mason could expose me on the spot. Oliver stood, frowning. Mason, Lily was talking about you? Mason arched a brow but said nothing. Everyone at the table wore the expression of people handed front row tickets to drama. I glanced at Brianna, she was staring, waiting for me to crash and burn. Being slapped with reality now would hurt worse than death. I dug my nails into my palm, rushed to Mason in 3 quick steps, and hugged his arm, pressing close. Ignoring the mockery in his eyes, I blinked innocently. Hey, you came to pick me up. I flashed him my brightest smile while discreetly pinching his side. Mason, for the sake of every treehouse we shared, throw me a lifeline. Just as I was selling the puppy dog eyes, Brianna's syrupy voice floated over. Mason, what's going on? Since when did you have a little sister? A few dragging seconds in the stuffy room. My hidden hand grew clammy. My heart pounded. When Mason stayed silent, I started to let go. Suddenly, his fingers clamped over mine where they held his arm. He glanced down, a half-smile playing on his lips. I'm here to get you. Then he lifted his gaze to Brianna, his voice cool. Don't claim relatives, we're not close. My Lily's got a low tolerance for fakes. The booth area fell dead quiet. Brianna's face stiffened. Whatever, who cares? I do. I leaned harder into Mason, my pitch even squeakier than Brianna's. My Mason has only ever let me call him that for fun. Oliver finally snapped, storming over to grab my other hand. I stepped behind Mason. Oliver's hand hung midair, disbelief all over his face. Babe, you're seriously doing this? Mason blocked me, annoyed. Stop with the pet names, she's not your babe anymore. The deadpan delivery made me snort. That laugh shattered Oliver's last thread of composure. Mason, hilarious. Everyone knows Lily's my girlfriend. Mason flicked a brow, his tone laced with sarcasm. Really? With Brianna running to the guys' dorms every night, we figured she was. Most of the room were guys, several from Oliver's frat, silent, but their expressions screamed agreement. Oliver turned to me, frantic. Babe, you've always known Brianna's like a sister. She only asks for help. I looked past him. Brianna stood pale, eyes glassy like she'd crumble any second. For a moment, I actually felt a pang of pity, but I still smiled. It's fine, I'm generous, remember? We're broken up, so lose the pet name. I'm nobody's babe here. The peanut gallery held its breath. Oliver, desperate to save face, barked, fine, if you want to split, we split. You'll regret this, Lily. Never liked you that much anyway. I shrugged, tugged Mason's sleeve, and walked out. A few steps down the hallway, Oliver burst out after us. Mason, Lily's just throwing a tantrum, you think she actually likes you? If she liked you, why was she with me? After a long second, I heard Mason's cold scoff. Seriously, why the testosterone show? Mason doesn't even like me. Mortified, I held Mason faster, thinking, should have duct taped Oliver's mouth shut. Planning to keep claiming me? My arms going numb, Mason said, his voice lazy as we emerged into the cool night air. Only then did I realize we were already blocks from the bar. I started to let go. He shifted his arm, tangling our fingers instead. His handsome face zoomed in, stopping inches away. Reluctantly, I admitted, Mason is the best-looking guy I've ever seen. Why else would kid me follow him everywhere? Not Oliver's flashy, obvious charm, Mason's was in the subtle details, the hidden intensity in his eyes, the sharp line of his jaw. So, he began, his voice a low rumble. When exactly did I kiss you? He'd heard every word at the party. His cool fingers tightened around mine, the contact burning. My heart skipped. I shoved at his chest, trying to free my hand. When we were 5. Playing pretend wedding. It lasted 2 seconds. Remembering childhood so clearly, he smiled thinly, not releasing me. Lily, could it be you really like me? I gaped, my voice shooting up. No. My captured hand was suddenly released. He pocketed his own, straightening, the familiar distance returning to his posture. No need to shout, I hear fine. He paused, glancing back toward the bar. Then again, look at your taste in guys. Pretty awful. Jerk, had to jab the sore spot. I snapped, not your business. He nodded and walked on, the direction still led toward my dorm. I jogged to catch up, trying to thaw the air. When'd you join varsity? You never touched a basketball in high school. He tilted his head, a ghost of a smirk returning. Not your business. Me, child. We walked in silence till the streetlights near campus cast long shadows. I noticed the tops of his ears were turning crimson. As kids, the minute Mason got flustered, his ears would glow red. Now, grown up, and the mention of basketball still did that? Back in the dorm, all 3 roommates stared. I touched my face. What, is there text on my forehead? The room leader hesitated. Lily, have you checked Instagram? I shook my head and opened the app. Oliver had apparently short-circuited, 12 fresh posts in a row. The latest, freedom is great, heartbreak is temporary. Under it, Brianna's bright comment, bye-bye, on to the next. 2 loud and proud idiots. I've got something else to show you, but don't get mad first. The room leader shoved her phone at me. Someone started a big group chat for that new mobile game. It's pretty much our whole class. The thread already sprawled down the screen. I scrolled to the top. What's going on? Did Oliver just get dumped? At first, no one answered, and the line was quickly buried. A few minutes later, Brianna finally replied. Guys, don't ask. Oliver is heartbroken enough. He just spent a ton on a birthday gift for next month. She could have told him she liked someone else earlier instead of leading him on. Anyway, he's upset. I'm going to check on him. Everyone in the chat knew each other, so few dared to gossip openly. Brianna's messages just floated there, followed by a parade of ellipses from the rest. Silence spoke louder than words. I exploded. I had my rue. Mate add me to the chat. Without a second thought, I had Brianna, you're good at scavenging. tough job, thanks. I never got any expensive gift, but if I had, I'd return it for a refund. How exactly will you check on him? Sitting on his lap like you did at the party? It's legal now, he's single. Chat iced over. The next second, the admin disbanded the group. By dawn, my phone was carpet-bombed with Oliver's calls and texts. I rolled my eyes and blocked him. I had no class on Tuesday. When my roommate saw me heading out, she stopped me. Lily, maybe rest in the dorm? She pointed at my puffy eyes. I told myself I wasn't upset, but I'd never been slapped with this kind of public humiliation before. I shook my head. Today's the last day to register for the Horizon Grant Film Contest. I'm signing up. Her eyes lit up. You're entering? My major is film production. The Horizon Grant was a prestigious student documentary competition. I'd once eagerly pitched my idea to Oliver, and he'd nodded along while knocking it down. Babe, your topic feels so niche, kinda doomed. Besides, you don't have the resources. Sounds like a pipe dream. Everyone else started ages ago. Why not aim for next year? I was an idiot. I almost let him gaslight me. Thankfully, I still had time. The moment I finished registering at the department office, I raced to book a studio space. Of course, I ran straight into the two lovebirds. The office assistant looked torn. There's only one studio left with a proper green screen. Can you two work it out? I refused to negotiate. I said I'd already filed my request. Brianna was there for the Film Society and said righteously, Sir, our society needs the room for a project that represents the whole department, not personal gain. She paused, meek and pitiful. I applied a bit late this time. I'll remember next time. Seeing her play the victim, Oliver chimed in at once. Right, Lily, you only want the prize money anyway, don't you? At the word prize, the assistant's eyes flickered. In the end, he handed the studio key to them. I swallowed my rage and stalked out, but Oliver caught up in 3 strides. Don't be mad, Bree needs the studio for a society assignment. If she can't book it, she'll get a bad grade, not my problem. Move. You just want cash for a new lens, right? I'll buy you one. He grabbed my wrist, his voice softening. Babe, I'll buy it. How about we get back together? I'd never told Oliver about my family, never explained why I was really entering the contest. The lens thing had been an offhand remark. I'd never said I'd use the prize money for gear. Brianna, watching from a few steps away, dashed over the instant he touched me. In a squeaky faux innocent voice, Lily, we're almost at the Humanities building. Are you here to see Mason? The moment Oliver heard Mason's name, his face changed, and his hand fell away. Perfect, just what I wanted. Can you shut up? Your whole vibe is making me dizzy. One glimpse of her, and I was back in last night's group chat hell. I almost lost my cool. Brianna pretended not to understand and kept going. Mason is so inconsiderate, such hot weather, and he didn't come with you. Oliver came with me first thing this morning. Maybe he doesn't like you that much? I rolled my eyes. Your fake lash is dangling, looks nasty. Your eyeliner smudged. And your foundation is caking. I kept the barrage deadpan until Brianna's eyes widened. She yanked out her phone and frantically checked her reflection. I spun on my heel and left. Before I'd gone far, Oliver was buzzing around me again, impossible to swat away. Mason won't even accompany you on a tiny errand. If it were me, I'd be here for sure. Does he buy you coffee every day? Bring you meds when you're sick? Is he even half as good to you as I am? The more he talked, the more confident he became, almost had me second-guessing. When my expression slid into full sarcasm, he cracked and started the brainwash loop. Listen, Lily, if a guy really likes someone, he makes a move. He's had years and never chased you, he's just playing. Oliver, on the other hand, had pursued me hard. The week before sophomore year, I'd been dragged into shooting the Welcome Week promo. The star athlete in front of my lens, Oliver. I always hype my subjects, so I peppered him with so handsome and great shot the whole time. After the shoot, he came over, asked for my number, and joked. Never got that many compliments crammed into so few minutes. Later, he kept telling me how special I was, and yeah, he gave me emotional highs. I figured, why not try liking him back? I tried, and reality slapped me silly. Huh, you mean the bring meds stunt where I waited 3 hours and finally called an Uber to the clinic myself? Over spring break, I stayed on campus, got a stomach bug so bad I couldn't stand up straight. Oliver swore he'd bring medicine, and vanished. When I returned from the clinic, I ran into him outside the dorm. He mumbled something about driving a drunk frat brother home. Hearing the story now, he went shifty-eyed. That was a one-off. I snorted. Mason doesn't just talk, he drags me to the clinic, stays, and makes sure I take the pills. Winter break, junior year of high school, a fever hit me at midnight. Mason burst into my room, panicked, bundled me up, and soothed me the whole drive. At the urgent care, the nurse teased him, "Just a virus, big guy like you, so worried?" I peeled my heavy lids open and saw him scrubbing his red-rimmed eyes. Back then, I thought Mason liked me. But later, I yanked my mind back and kept firing. He tutored me all through chem, cheered me on, 100 times more solid than you. He'd do anything for me. And I love him, always have. You and I were just a fling, got it? So scram, and don't block me on my way to him. I'd been dodging Oliver so hard I'd walked the wrong direction, because Mason wasn't my tar. Yet, the instant I turned the corner, I was already picking which planet to emigrate to. A few yards away stood the Dean of Humanities and Professor Armitage, ringed by a few grad students. Mason stood beside them, holding a stack of files, the tips of his ears tomato red. The dean clapped his shoulder, laughing. "Didn't peg you for the romantic type, Mason." Professor Armitage's face folded into grin lines. "Youth really is wonderful." My brain blue-screened. I forced a polite smile. "Good morning, Dean, Professor." They nodded cheerfully. "Looks like Mason gets the rest of the afternoon off. Go enjoy the nice weather, you too." The moment the two of them stepped into the department office, the surrounding crowd erupted, shoving Mason. "So, are we still hooping later, lover boy? Your girlfriend's waiting. Forget the court. Man, you're insufferable." I was moving to Mars, today. On campus, the oak trees were just beginning to turn. Perfect fall day. Just a shame who I was sharing it with. Mason handed me a hot latte, then teasingly wouldn't let go, mischief sparkling in his eyes. "I love you to death? You too? Loved me since we were kids." I pressed my palms together and lifted them to my forehead to hide my scorching face. "Please, just pretend you didn't hear. I won't run my mouth again, I swear." I sneaked a glance at him. "Or, I can explain to Professor Armitage for you." "Explain what, like Professor's track student drama?" Mason said nothing, just sipped his coffee. He swallowed, then suddenly met my eyes. "That's the second time, Lily." He leaned in slightly, the smell of oat milk latte flooded my senses. I couldn't stop myself from gulping. His lashes lowered, his voice dead serious. "Next time, I'll take it for real. Won't happen again." My voice came out thin, but my heart jackhammered. Mason faced forward, dropped the subject, and asked why I'd been at the office. Talking about it deflated me. I was lagging way behind. My documentary topic was on support systems for at-risk youth, part interview, part narrative recreation, and tons of pieces still weren't in place. Now Brianna had stolen my venue on top of it. Letting Mason distract me, I started spiraling right there. "I don't think I can pull this off, nothing's ready. Like Oliver said, I'm just an idealist, I'll never land on my feet." "You like him that much? You have to parrot everything he says?" Mason cut me off, heat crackling in his voice. My heart missed a beat. "Why are you mad?" He froze, then stood up awkwardly from the bench. "Come on, let's go. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving break." He killed the topic. Ever since I was little, I'd practically lived at Mason's house. My parents were often overseas for work. Mason's dad had been my dad's college roommate. After he retired from the military, he went into consulting. My parents traveled nonstop, so they'd dump me at Mason's, sometimes for weeks at a stretch. I loved every second of it. Eventually, I stopped thinking of it as Mason's house and started thinking of it as my second home. When we walked in, dinner was already on the table. Mrs. Carter, Elena, ladled soup and slid the bowl over, smiling. "Lily, sweetie, how's everything going with that boy?" Last month, Oliver and I had run into her and her friend at the mall while catching a movie. My relationship had detonated in public before I was ready. Mason's spoon paused midair. I felt weirdly guilty. "We broke up. Found a new one yet?" she asked, her eyes twinkling. I choked. Scalding soup went down the wrong pipe, and I coughed violently. Mason thumped my back, deadpan. "Nope. She's hung up on some guy she'd die for. She's off the market." I stared at him in disbelief and coughed even harder. He lifted an eyebrow, the picture of a prank that had landed perfectly. Elena scolded her son with her eyes, then turned back to me. "You know, a pretty, smart girl like you, the line would stretch around the block. I have some friends with lovely sons. Mom, you left your garden hose on." I heard it from outside. Mason cut her off, stood, and gently steered her toward the back door. When he came back, he took the napkin from my hands and wiped the spilled soup. For reasons I still don't understand, I corrected him late. "Who says I'm not getting one? A boyfriend." His hand stalled. Suit yourself. I kicked myself for that childish probe. I'd known forever that Mason didn't see me that way. And he'd never known that I'd once liked him. My brain was too tangled for sleep. I stumbled to the bathroom at midnight, then shuffled back down the dark hallway. The second I lay down, an unnatural heat radiated from behind me. Panicking, I tried to sit up, an arm shot out from under the quilt. The next second, I was yanked into a burning embrace. Only then did I remember. Elena said the guest room ceiling was leaking, so she'd swapped our rooms. Except, this was my old room. Mason's room. Mason held me tight, his scorching breath branding the back of my neck, frying every circuit in my head. Mason, sorry for snapping at you this afternoon. His voice came out of nowhere, soft, low, husky with sleep. It's not idealism. Anything you set your mind to works. Always has. I'll help. So go for it. Don't get a boyfriend, Lily. A pause that stretched my nerves taut. I'll be jealous. An autumn night, but his words were summer thunder, blasting me awake. I didn't sleep a wink. I never expected Mason's help to be so literal. He told me to prep my questions, said he'd found a legal expert for an interview. I showed up at the performance studio right on time and ran straight into Brianna. She lounged in the director's chair like she owned it. Lily, this is our film society studio. We don't loan it out. Last week she'd been chirping sis, now it was last name basis. I jingled the studio key. The department issued this to me. So you make the rules? She stayed planted till I pulled out my phone, dialing the society's faculty advisor. Then she stomped off, shooting me a venomous look. I'd just finished setting up the camera when she stormed back in, foaming at the mouth. God, the act, your little projects are just resume padding so you can get some fancy internship, right? And a documentary on at-risk youth? Way to exploit other people's trauma for clout. So fake, yet Oliver still buys it, begging you to take him back. So she still hadn't hooked him and was melting down in my face. Brianna, this isn't a dump. I told you, if you like trash, take it. She flipped, eyes red, and charged, shoving me hard. But I met him first. If you hadn't thrown yourself at him, Oliver would never have looked at you. Didn't anyone teach you basic decency? Or maybe you just never learned. She shut up, because I'd shoved her back. Months of slime finally overflowed. I didn't throw a punch, but I stood my ground, blocking her grabs. Years of self-defense classes, Brianna, all nails and hair pulling, never stood a chance. Footsteps thundered outside. The next second, I was flung sideways. My shoulder slammed into the sharp edge of a lighting stand, white-hot pain. The bastard had shoved me. Brianna's wails filled the studio. Oliver looked at the red mark on her arm, her tangled hair, then at my slightly rumpled shirt, and jumped to conclusions. Lily, you hit her? I sneered, cradling my throbbing shoulder. She charged at me. Should I have scheduled an appointment? Oliver, I was just rehearsing here, and she barged in, tried to kick me out. I only said it wasn't open to outsiders, and she went psycho. Brianna sobbed, snot mixing with tears, playing the wronged maiden. You're such a spoiled brat, Oliver snapped, seizing my wrist so hard it burned. You're just mad I embarrassed you at that party, so you take it out on Brianna? Who do you think you are? You used me as Mason's stand-in for almost a year. I wrenched free and slap at him. Shut it. You're not even good enough to be his stand-in. He caught my arm before I could pull back, squeezing like he wanted to crush bone. Eyes wide, voice cracking. Are you this vicious at home? How does anyone stand you? You've got zero class. His other hand rose, about to fall for himself and for her. I flinched, eyes shut. Rapid footfalls, no blow came, my wrist felt lighter. Mason vaulted into the room, shoving Oliver away hard, then dove after him as he stumbled. Fist met jaw with a sickening crack. How she acts is none of your business. I rushed to stop them but was blocked by another figure. Dean Harris? The legal expert Mason had offhandedly promised was none other than Dean Harris of the pre-law program, a renowned legal scholar. He stepped between the boys with calm authority, then patted my good shoulder. Sometimes, protecting someone requires decisive action. He glanced at Mason, who was breathing heavily, glaring at Oliver on the floor. He can't watch you get bullied. And he sure won't let anyone trash-talk a Gold Star family. My nose stung, tears blurred everything. Back when I lived here, I could never wake up on time. Mason would gripe, if I wait for you tomorrow, I'm changing my name. Next morning, he'd still sling my backpack over his shoulder and shove a cereal box across the table. Hurry up, slowpoke. I'd grin. Once my folks are back, you'll be bored without me. But one day, they never came back. I only got a flag and a medal. They'd died in a humanitarian aid mission overseas. When the scuffle settled, Dean Harris stepped in fully. In front of faculty, everyone behaves. Brianna whimpered, "Professor, Lily hit me first. This studio is booked for our society project, for our final grade. She only wants the prize money to pad her resume. You spewed filth, you deserved it." Tears made my voice crack. Brianna cowered behind Oliver, playing fragile. "I never insulted her. Got proof?" I pointed at the blinking Ed light on the camcorder, still mounted on the tripod. "See that? Guess what it caught?" When the playback ended, Oliver stared at Brianna, speechless. Every sneer, every slur, recorded in high def. Brianna wavered like a leaf in the wind. Dean Harris adjusted his glasses. "Miss Jones, Lily asked me here for a professional interview, not to pad an application. Her parents died serving their country, she's channeling that into understanding systemic issues. And the Horizon Grant is a charitable foundation, the prize money is a stipend to further the work. If my parents knew I was getting into shouting matches in college." I trailed off, the fight draining out of me, replaced by a hollow ache. The studio emptied, only Mason and I remained. I pulled spare antiseptic wipes from my bag and dabbed at the cut on his knuckles. "They wouldn't be disappointed in you," I whispered. "How do you know?" He raised an eyebrow, a hint of his old cockiness returning. "Because they could never be disappointed in me?" I managed a weak laugh, then met his eyes, and the room went vacuum quiet. He slipped the wipe from my fingers and curled my hand inside his. "But next time I'm not around, no confrontations like that, okay?" His thumb gently wiped a smudge of dust from my other knuckle. "I'll worry." My heart hiccuped, I stopped breathing. That was the second time Mason had said something like this. One more, he'd warned, and I'd start believing him. I didn't have his composure. "Why, Mason? Why would you worry like that? Weren't you the one who said I'd just been casually written into your life?" The old hurt, buried but never gone, tinted my voice. When we were kids, Mason's favoritism once convinced me he liked me. But the summer before college, he suddenly decided to take a gap year program abroad. The night before he left, at his farewell party, I carried a plate of brownies past his dad's study and overheard them arguing. "I still say business school is the pragmaty C path. You'll take over the firm one day," and the connection with the Lawson family. Mason cut him off, his voice strained. "Could you please stop scripting my life for me?" That was when I understood, I was just a side character in the story someone else was trying to write for him. The confession letter I'd planned to give him before he left was dragged straight into the shredder. I never heard Mason's answer to my why. He stood there blank, as if he didn't understand the question, and the instant the words left my mouth, my courage vanished. I fled the studio, my shoulder aching. A few days later, I landed the interview with Dean Harris. He wore a crisp suit, sitting bolt upright while he skimmed my question list. "Miss Vance, you may be in film, but your legal and social questions are sharp." He gave an appreciative nod, then teased, "Our Mr. Carter must have helped quite a bit." Mason and I both coughed, studying the floor. Dean Harris laughed. "Look at you two. Back in my day, I used to proofread every paper for my now wife." When the taping ended, Dean Harris kept Mason behind to discuss a research assistant opportunity. I headed back to the dorm first. The moment I stepped out of the humanities building, I saw Oliver waiting under a tree, gaunt, like something had sucked the life out of him. I ignored him and kept walking. He followed. "Lily, I'm sorry. I misread everything. I didn't know Brianna was like that. And the group chat thing, why didn't you tell me? What good would telling you have done? Didn't I try?" I cut him off, weary. Brianna had first surfaced in Oliver's stories on her birthday, which marked 1 month for Oliver and me. He'd turned her down for our date that night. Drunk, she called him sobbing. 2 months later, after I added her on socials, I learned he'd gone to pick her up from some party. Her post that night was a classic humble brag. I confronted him, but he never put any real distance between them again. "Oliver, are you honestly clueless, or do you just enjoy the attention from 2 directions?" He froze, voice shrinking. "It won't happen again. I'm completely done with her. Give me one more chance. I really like you. There's no next time." Mason's voice came from behind me. His arm slid around my shoulders, firm and possessive. "Oliver, keep bothering my girlfriend," and, a deliberate beat, "I'll have a word with your fraternity president. And the dean of students." Me. Why do pre-law people wave administrative threats around like a business card? Also, whose girlfriend? Under the sprawling oak by the humanities building, Mason pulled me along without a word. I shook his arm off, folded my own, mimicking his usual cool stare. "Mason, 3rd strike." I'd meant it as a tease, but his face went grave. He took both my hands in his eyes downcast for a moment before meeting mine. I went home and thought about what you said. I don't remember ever saying you were just written in. He looked up, holding my gaze. But Lily, I've known since we were kids, I'm yours. How could you not feel it? Something seemed to hit him. He lowered his eyes and laughed at himself, a short, rough sound. I wanted to tell you how I felt the night before I left for that gap year program. But you told Sarah Miller you didn't have a crush on anyone anymore, and I thought you meant me. I thought I'd wait until you were done with the guy you started dating in college. He never let go of my hands. The heat traveled straight to my hammering heart. I managed to speak. That summer, I heard you and your dad arguing. You said you didn't want him scripting your life. I thought I was just part of a script he approved of. Mason blinked, sudden understanding flooding his face. That's what this is about. Lily, he was pushing me toward a major and a social connection I didn't want. I was pushing back against a whole life plan. His grip tightened. I like you. No parental script require. D never was. His body had already confessed, but hearing the words, I still jerked my head up. Say that again? Mason blinked, then a slow, real smile curved his lips, reaching his eyes. I said I like you. Have since we were kids. Love you to death, apparently. He stepped closer. So, how about dating me? For real this time. When I stayed silent, stunned, he lifted a brow. Want me to chase longer? How long did Oliver chase? Why bring up that jinx? I shut him up by leaning in and sealing his busy mouth with mine. A soft, tentative peck, then the back of my head was caught the instant I tried to retreat. Cool mint and coffee rolled over me, dizzying. Between soft, searching kisses, he rasped against my lips. Didn't you say we'd kissed before? I don't recall. Hadn't we settled this last time? I snatched a breath to remind him it was when we were 6, playing pretend, but he took the opportunity to deepen the kiss. Kiss me some more, he murmured, his voice a low vibration against my mouth. Maybe it'll come back to me. Seriously, he dives in fast. The moment the interview footage was locked, I threw myself into shooting the narrative scenes. Whenever Mason had a free hour, he showed up, tweaking any factual details in the dialogue. Oliver kept spamming me, texts, DMs, every social platform imaginable. Mason itched to do something but restrained himself. Instead, during an intramural game, he defended Oliver so aggressively that the guy barely scored a point and reportedly left the court humiliated. I stared, stunned, from the bleachers. Oliver was all-state in high school. When did you get this good? Mason pressed his lips together, looking half resentful as he gulped water. Someone said she liked guys who were good at basketball. I may have practiced, a lot. In my head, if not always on the court. My face caught fire. After the senior year homecoming dance, a downpour had hit. Under the awning, my friend Chloe asked if I was ever going to tell Mason how I felt. Tipsy on punch, I'd wagged my head. Tell him what? I don't even like him like that. Trying to convince myself, I added, I like basketball players. Mason had never been into sports. When I turned, he was right there, holding my forgotten jacket. That, I think, was the start of our long Cold War. Guilt made me buy him an obscenely expensive coffee later. Here. For being my MVP. The day the Horizon Grant winner email arrived, I squealed and practically leapt into Mason's arms in the library commons. You're my lucky charm. Sure enough, I'd taken first place. My film would get a small festival run and a grant to develop it further. Every hour of grind had paid off. I was euphoric. Mason brushed the tip of my nose with his finger. So what's my reward? I cupped his face to kiss him. Lily, did you see the, oh my? Elena's voice rang out. She half covered her eyes, her grin wide enough to split her cheeks. She'd sworn she had a PTA meeting all day. I scrambled off Mason's lap, mortified. We hadn't officially briefed either parent on our relationship status. Getting caught red-handed, I wanted the floor to swallow me. Elena was delighted. Mr. Carter was another story. Dinner was tense. The moment plates were cleared, he told me to wait in the living room. I glanced at Mason. He squeezed my fingers under the table. I'll find you. Mr. Carter's voice was low and firm. Mason, a word in my study. Inner me, we're adults. Outer me, stood, nodded, and scurried to the living room. Though Mr. Carter had left the military years ago, his demeanor still carried that authoritative weight. The light under the study door burned until after midnight. When it finally snapped off, I texted Mason. You okay? No answer. Minutes later, I heard a faint tap on my bedroom window. I scrambled up in horror as Mason climbed in from the porch roof. Are you insane? It's a steep drop. He hugged me tight, his voice small and playfully wronged in the dark. Dad put one of those motion sensor alarms on your door, chimes if it opens after curfew. Me. I should have known. I whispered, is your dad vetoing this? No, Mason sighed, his breath warm against my hair. He's afraid I'll mess it up. Hurt you. He gave me a 3-hour lecture on responsibility. The window stood open, moonlight painted a silver stripe across the carpet. We held each other in the quiet. Lily, even my dad thinks I was an idiot for trying to keep my distance. His voice was rough with regret. I'm sorry. For all of it. I shook my head against his chest, then hugged him tighter. Trying to lift the mood, I teased, maybe if we'd dated right after high school, I would have gotten bored and dumped you in college. Mason pinched my chin gently, forcing me to look up. In the moonlight, his eyes were dark and serious. You wouldn't dare. Then, as if deciding I probably would be stubborn enough, he leaned down and punished me with several fierce, possessive kisses. Just promise to only ever bully me, he murmured between kisses, his voice a blend of command and plea. For the rest of your life. Please. Fresh from the shower, Mason's mint scent was stronger, the cool, clean aroma clashing with the soft, vulnerable plea. My heart flipped. I hooked my arms around his neck. Depends, I whispered back, a smile in my voice. On how well my boyfriend behaves. Thank you for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and share it with your friends. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments. Feel free to share your perspectives, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories. See you next time.